Hi, Alex. Thank you for reaching out to me for help with your game. The issues in your swing are fairly easy to diagnose. I know that you said you were a pretty good player. I think you mentioned in the email you were about a two handicap. I can see why you've got a lot of really nice pieces in your swing, and I think I've identified a couple things that will really help you kind of clean it up and take it to the next level. So let's start by looking down the line here for a second, and I'm just going to kind of give you just a quick overview of what I'm seeing. A lot of really good structure to your backswing here. I love the hip turn. I love the depth to the hand path. I love the pitch of the shaft here. Club face alignment is pretty well organized. And I would say all the way up to about right here, it's really difficult to find anything wrong with any of that. So nice job with creating that structure in your backswing. Now, in this phase of the swing right here is when I start to see a little bit of an issue creep in. So you get a little bit of an overswing or too long of a swing, and that is generally stemming from the fact that you are allowing the trail shoulder to abduct or move away from the rib cage just a little bit excessively. And generally, when I see that happens, it's usually followed by a little bit of a elbow separation move in transition. So we start to see those elbows, kind of the space between them, start to kind of widen out just a little bit. And what that does is it allows you to put a strong downward force on that handle. And the problem with that is that, this is a game that's being played basically on some type of inclined plane, if you will, which means that the path that your hands travel on should be moving in a downward, yes, but also an outward capacity here. So there should be some outward movement to those hands. And in your case, that doesn't really happen. So your hands kind of just move straight down with this strong downward force on the handle. And then you get in this position down here to where you don't really have a lot of space. You don't have space because you pulled down on that grip and the right elbow is kind of trapped behind the rib cage here. And then that move, that strong downward move, starts kind of a domino effect of other compensations that you have to layer on there. And so the next compensation that I see is just your simple early extension of the pelvis. You see your right knee kick in, you see your right heel come up off the ground, and what that's doing is that's leveling out this pelvis, and the early extension causes you to kind of stand up and back away from it. So if we look here at early transition, you can basically see the movement of your head. If I put this line on the front of your cap, we're going to see the head retract back away from that line and the neck start to bend and flex down and the body get very, very vertical. And this is your attempt to make space. And you're having to make space simply because your hand path is not moving in a wide enough circle on the downswing because of what's going on with your arm structure here. So ideally what we'd like to see is, a little bit less abduction, a little less retraction of that right scapula and pull back of that arm. So kind of staying away from that move a little bit and staying in this move a little bit. And there's a lot of training aids that you can get on the market right now to help with that. So one would be like a tour striker ball. If you look at the player over here on the right with that training aid, and what it will do is kind of help you keep those elbows a little bit closer together throughout the course of the backswing and the transition. And so you can see this golfer's hand path moving out toward the ball a lot more in yours. The club's still shallow, and he's still got some lead arm depth coming down, but the butt of the club moves out a lot more. And so when you look at this last parallel, kind of an indicator of what I'm looking for to make sure the hands are traveled far enough out is if I draw a straight line down from the lead shoulder, I should see those hands out across that line. And if you look over here on the right, that's exactly what you can kind of see there. So he's got space because the hand path traveled far enough outward toward the golf ball, whereas you don't. So now you're going to have to make all of these other moves, like we mentioned, the early extension, the pelvis going in, right heel coming up off the ground, right knee kicking out toward the ball. All of that is in an effort to kind of stand up and give you room to move. So where I would start in your swing is cleaning up this arm structure with something like a tour striker ball. In transition, you want to feel that trail elbow moving back down in front of your rib cage, and you want to feel those elbows squeezing together and not separating. Now, when you get to training the lower body a little bit, which you're gonna have a two-step process here. Number one is clean up the arm structure because that's the root cause. Number two is going to be cleaning up your pivot just a little bit. And what I mean by that is basically changing how your right knee, right foot is interacting with the ground just a little bit. And so um, so if we look at your face on here, we're going to see again that right knee internally rotating very, very quickly. And so internal rotation would be in this direction. And I like to see a little bit of a squat and separation in transition. So when you let that right knee kind of cave in so quickly right there, what it does is it drops the right side of your pelvis. And that's going to limit your ability to turn and pivot and rotate in a downswing. And that's going to also facilitate more of that early extension move that you're making. So a drill you can do is if you look over here on the right, you'll see a golfer with a basket between their knees. Now, you want to be trying to squeeze the basket as much as you can with your left knee in the backswing because we want that left knee to internally rotate like you're doing over here on the left. We want to try to keep moving that left knee in this way. So getting the right size basket is kind of important here. And then your feel in transition is just simply try to drop the basket out. And you can see how the left knee externally rotates, but the right knee doesn't chase it. And the lower body stays a little bit more underneath the upper body. Now, this is obviously a drill, so this isn't how this is going to look when we do it in real speed, but this gets you the feeling of slowing down that internal rotation so quickly of that right knee. So I think, if we can clean up the arm structure at the top, change that a little bit of abduction you've got there, in transition, feel that those elbows squeezing together and your hand path moving out toward the ball just a little bit, combined with a little bit better right knee action in the downswing to slow down that early extension. I think you're going to find you can hit the center of the face a lot more often, and I think you'll also find that you have a little bit more control over the club face, and you'll get better control over the ball flight. So, hope this helps you. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions.